Look, I mean, Ryan, I believe, is ready for a world title this year. And I have something to say. So Floyd Mayweather is Tank's promoter.
He is?
He is.
The old one or the young one?
The young one.
Oh, okay.
He has his people behind him who's doing all the work, obviously. But so Floyd Mayweather's his promoter. And so the fact that, if Floyd didn't give me the rematch, let's get it on. Hey, let's get it on. You have your fighter Tank. I have my fighter Ryan Garcia. Let's make this fight happen. If Ryan wins during Valentine's on the 14th, this Friday, if he wins, then let's stage a fight, man. Look, promoter versus promoter, fighter versus fighter, Mayweather Promotions versus Golden Boy Promotions. It'll be a huge fight.
That fucking fight is not going to happen next.
Nope.
If it ever happens at all.
Nope.
You heard me say, yeah, that fight might not never happen. But at minimum, I don't think it's happening next. I think that if Ryan makes his way past Francisco Fonseca this Friday, in all likelihood, who he's going to fight after that is going to be Jorge Linares. And I think that's a good fight. I think that's a very good fight for Ryan Garcia against the former WBA and Ring Magazine lightweight champion. I like that fight. But as far as Davis, forget about it. There's too many moving parts with a fight like that, and everything has to be just so for Gervonta Davis, the money team, and the people over there at the PBC. Those guys aren't risk takers. They're not warriors like that, you understand. They don't believe in their product enough that they would send Gervonta over to DAZN to have a fight like that, even though Oscar's right. It would be a big fight between those two young guys in their prime. Yeah, it would be a big fight. But I don't think that Leonard Ellerbe, Floyd Mayweather, or Al Heyman are prepared to send Gervonta Davis to a rival platform to have a fight, especially with no belt on the line. Send Gervonta Davis over there to bring back what? Ryan's not a champion. And listen, I'm not telling you it's right. I'm not telling you it's wrong. I'm just telling you what it is. That in order for that fight to become feasible, the people at Golden Boy would have to be willing to send Ryan to the PBC/Showtime side of the street. That's the only way I could see it happening. And the only way I could see that happening is if Stefan Espinoza and the people over there at Showtime are willing to offer up enough money for that to happen.
Would they?
Bear in mind, this is the same Showtime that is no longer in the Deontay Wilder business, that they didn't think it made financial sense to continue backing that guy. So there is a question as to, what is Showtime willing to put up to get that fight?
Yeah.
We already know you can't spare Gervonta because he's pretty much what little you've got. You can't afford to let that guy end up fighting on some other platform, garnering viewership and subscribers for someone else. So you want to get the fight, but what are you willing to put up to get it? There's that to consider. But there's also how Gervonta Davis has been looking, how he's been treating his body and the overall trajectory of his career. He was just in there with a very faded fighter, knocked down more times than I can remember in Yuriorkis Gamboa. And it took Gervonta about 12 rounds to get this guy out of there. 12. This is a past prime, over-the-hill, one-legged Yuriorkis Gamboa. How do you think that looks to Leonard Ellerbe, Floyd Mayweather, Al Heyman? What do you think comes to mind when they see that their guy can't dispatch a faded Yuriorkis Gamboa in less time than a journeyman did? Do you think that after that, they're in any hurry to take on risky opponents? Because that's what Ryan Garcia would be at that point. If we've been seeing Gervonta Davis fight the kind of fighters that he has been fighting for the last 2, going on 3 years, what you'll notice is that none of these guys are highly touted up-and-comers and top prospects turning into contenders, world-level fighters. These aren't the kind of guys that Gervonta Davis has been fighting, and there's a reason for that. So you think, after going 12 rounds with a Yuriorkis Gamboa, do you think they're going to be in any hurry to match him against the likes of Ryan Garcia? As funny as it might sound,
Pay attention.
I'd say that a year ago, I would have edged Gervonta Davis to win that fight because I would have felt that he was further along. But here today, I feel that he's regressing and that the longer this fight takes to make, the more it actually favors Ryan Garcia. That Ryan Garcia has been and still is on the bring along process is not a question. He most certainly is, but he's improving fight by fight. he's improving, whereas Gervonta is regressing. I'm not going to tell you that Gervonta Davis wasn't a talented fighter.
At one point he was.
But what do they say about talent? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And that appears to be what's going on with Gervonta, who almost blew the weight for this fight. At what? At 135? You were struggling to make 130, and now what we see is that you might be struggling to make 135 as well. So you're not working hard between fights. Maintaining weight so that when you go into camp, you don't go into a fat camp. I don't know that Leonard Ellerbe and Floyd Mayweather and Al Heyman are in any hurry to match Gervonta against someone that's got a pulse. Not unless they have some kind of competitive edge, which is why they're looking at that Leo Santa Cruz fight, because
he's smaller.
You know, Leo Santa Cruz, he's a multi-division champion, but he's also a naturally smaller guy than Gervonta. Gervonta's got that working for him, that he's the bigger guy with the bigger punch, and they're using that angle
for an edge
to keep Gervonta in a safe fight. With Ryan,
he ain't little.
Given Ryan's dimensions, Ryan's got generous dimensions for the 135-pound division, and this is a kid who could very well go on to move up to 140, 147, and I dare say max out at 154 down the line, several years from now. I think that will be Ryan Garcia's ceiling. Well, it could happen sooner than that, but at minimum, Ryan has more generous dimensions for the lightweight division than Gervonta does. Gervonta is on the smaller, stumpier end of the spectrum. I mean, at the risk of revisiting old talking points that have been beaten to death, old talking points long since past, if they weren't interested in taking up Matchroom and DAZN's offer to fight Tevin Farmer in what would have been a unification fight, if they weren't interested in that, and that would have been a unification match, multi-million-dollar payday, you ain't got to worry about a pay-per-view upside to get your money because your money's guaranteed. The fight itself is actually a winnable fight because for all Tevin Farmer's virtues, you know Gervonta's a pretty strong puncher, and we don't know that Tevin Farmer takes the best punch, at least not at that time. And we know that Tevin Farmer himself, he's not a power guy. You know, he doesn't pack that concussive power that would offset Gervonta's power to where he can fight fire with fire. Tevin Farmer's out, his saving grace was his boxing. The fight itself was a winnable fight on both sides of the spectrum. And they weren't interested in taking that fight, a multi-million-dollar fight with 2 world titles on the line. They didn't care about making that fight, so what the fuck makes you think they'd care about making this fight? With a young, primed, undefeated fighter for no belt? They didn't take the Vasily-Lomachenko fight for obvious reasons, because, you know, Gervonta Davis would have been in over his head against that guy.
That time.
That he would have been out of his depth, he likely would have got demoralized and outclassed. This was back when Loma was at 130. They didn't take that fight for obvious reasons. But the Farmer fight, that was actually a more winnable fight, and it would have gotten Gervonta a multi-million-dollar payday. He could have become a unified champion, and they weren't interested in doing that. So I shudder to think, I struggle with the proposition that they'd be in any more hurry to stage this fight.
With Ryan Garcia?
Yeah, I'm not buying it. So you'll forgive me if I'm cynical, if I'm skeptical, jaded even, when it comes to this news and whatever other sound bites are floating around, that yes, there are a lot of these kinds of sound bites floating around, but there aren't a lot of these kinds of fights being made floating around, you know? That based on the moving parts that go into making a fight, based on that, no, I don't see this thing happening next, and I don't know that it'll ever happen, but at minimum, I don't see it happening next. At minimum, what I see is that Ryan Garcia, if he's successful against Francisco Fonseca, he'll move on from that to a Jorge Linares fight. And Davis, they're just going to keep feeding him little guys. The next little guy could be Leo Santa Cruz, and after that, it could be Gary Russell. You know, 2 guys who are, you know, in transition from 126 to 130 or 135. I see them doing that for Gervonta Davis. Feeding him familiar-faced little guys to make him look good. In bantamweight news, per a tweet from Michael Benson via Guillermo Rigo, he had this to say about Naoya Inoue. He says, "Before, I was fighting guys bigger than me. Now I'm in my weight. Let's go monster hunting." He's an excellent fighter, a warrior, a good, well-rounded boxer. We're both going to make incredible adjustments when that fight comes. And I said this before, I'll say it again. There's a precedence for the match, there is, because now Guillermo Rigondeaux is in possession of the lesser version of Naoya Inoue's title. I'm not opposed to the fight. If Rigo wants to take it on, and he really wants to do this, he means business, then by all means go ahead.
Do it.
Have at him, cowboy. It's just that I'm afraid that this is going to be another chapter in the same book. The book where they don't actually want the Naoya Inoue fight. They're going to hide behind the politics of boxing and simply use Naoya Inoue's name to promote Rigo's fights. That's what I'm afraid of. If Rigo really wants the fight, by all means, go ahead and have it. I'm just hoping that that's what's going on, and this isn't another episode of clout chasing via the PBC's stable of fighters, Guillermo Rigondeaux being one of them. It's a very interesting situation with Rigo because I feel that at this weight, he is a very strong puncher. It's just that in other areas, he is lacking greatly. You know, we saw the most movement from Rigo in this fight with Liborio Solis than we've seen in recent memory. He didn't move this much against, you know, Julio Ceja, for example. Rigo very much was using his legs, although that doesn't convince me that he still has his legs, under him. Because what you'll notice about that fight is that Guillermo spent a good amount of it simply just navigating around the ring and staying away from the other guy. Whereas what it would take to convince me that Rigo still has his legs is in and out capability. You know, not just staying on the outside, but being able to bounce in and out of range safely. That's what it would take to convince me, and I didn't see Rigo do that in any of his recent fights. You know, in the Ceja fight, he fought deep in the pocket and stayed in the pocket, and in the Liborio Solis fight, he stayed far outside of the pocket. So far on the outside that it was hardly a fight. I mean, a good chunk of this, you know, there were several rounds, entire rounds, where Rigo's not throwing very much of anything, and he's just taking a tour of the turnbuckles, navigating the ring, keeping Liborio out.
Yeah, he did.
Bear in mind that, you know, Liborio's no spring chicken either. I think that early surge that Liborio had in the opening round, I think that got Rigo's respect. I don't know, I'm not sure that him navigating around the ring as much as he did was an adjustment that he made given what took place early in the fight, that perhaps he had intentions of banging it out in the pocket, but he quickly found out that that's exactly what Liborio wants, so he deprived him of that. I don't know that that's what happened, although it is possible. But what you want to pay attention to is, okay, Rigo was able to, for the most part, effectively keep Liborio out. But who is Liborio?
Exactly.
You know, you're talking about a 37-year-old set of legs on that guy. That's what you're talking about. Where Rigo's 39, Liborio was 37. So even if you did effectively keep that guy out, what you kept out was a 37-year-old fighter with a 37-year-old set of legs. That ain't what you'd be facing with Naoya Inoue. I'll say that I think that Rigo packs enough punch at this weight that he could actually hurt Naoya. I do think that. I think Rigo is a strong enough puncher that, yeah, he could have Naoya hurt. The thing is that speed kills. And if anybody's got speed in that potential matchup, if anybody can beat the other guy to the punch and be accurate in doing so, it's Naoya, because Naoya is not just a strong puncher. You know that Naoya Inoue doesn't have to play Rigo close to the chest to get off his punches. He can fire straight shots from the outside coming in. Hair trigger 1-2 from the outside coming in, similar to what he did to Piano. Put him out that way. I don't think Rigo has the speed and reflexes to get out of the way of those shots. In all likelihood, if Rigo gets a taste of Naoya's power and figures that he doesn't like it, he's got to respect it, he may resort to staying on the outside, far on the outside, similar to what he just did with Liborio Solis, with the difference being that Naoya Inoue is not a 37-year-old fighter with a 37-year-old set of legs, and you're going to lose a lot of rounds trying to pull that crap with Naoya Inoue. That's if Rigo resorts to that. Rigo would likely be looking to walk Naoya Inoue into a shot, you know, set up a counter, use his ring savvy, his ring IQ to hit Naoya with something that he doesn't see.
Counter shot.
But in the process of looking for this kind of a shot, this kind of a window of opportunity, Rigo would be sacrificing quite a bit of rounds, you know, navigating the ring, staying on the outside, not throwing very many punches, giving Naoya Inoue's power that respect. Because if you gave Liborio Solis' power respect, it's safe to say that you might give Naoya Inoue that same respect, if not more, because Naoya's not just a strong puncher. This guy's lightning fast. And for an old-timer like Rigo, that's very difficult to do. Trying to keep up with that kind of, not just punching power, but hand speed, to catch the guy at the right moment. This isn't like firing off a lead left uppercut at the likes of a Liborio Solis. You know, it's a whole different ball game when you're dealing with a guy that has Naoya's speed.
You keep up?
If you're looking for a window of opportunity to fire off a counter shot, you yourself have to have the speed and reflexes to capitalize. And I think that for Rigo, that could prove to be very difficult to do. That kind of speed can get you a lot of respect. It can cause a guy to shell up and stop fighting and go into survival mode, to where he's not throwing punches anymore. He's just trying to make it to the next round. And bear in mind that, you know, Naoya Inoue has a lot of physical properties that are very admirable. I mean, he's a good boxer, yes, he's a very good boxer, but in the realm of physicality, he's got athleticism, he's got speed, he's got power. And what makes him such a good fighter is that he's not in love with these characteristics. He's not in love with his own power, so much so that he's a glutton for punishment when trying to get off a power shot. He's not in love with his own speed, that he puts together too many punches and ends up getting caught in between them. This is what makes Naoya Inoue such a dangerous fight for the likes of a Rigo, that you're not just dealing with a good physical specimen, you're dealing with a very good boxer as well. You yourself, your best days are behind you. You want to be in denial about it? Be in denial about it. You're 39 years old. You could be 40 by the time you fight this guy. So if Rigo wants to have that fight, let him have it. It's just that I don't give him very good odds to win it. And if you wanted to know why, that's why.